Hello, my name is Michael O'Keefe, aka The Movie Wist. If you enjoy this interview and want to hear more top-notch film industry conversations, please press the thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and hit the bell to stay in the know. Hello, Justin Dyck and Keith Cooper. Please tell me why you think horror fans will enjoy anything for Jackson.
Well, I think people will like anything for Jackson because it's a familiar genre. It's sort of a familiar story, but then it's twisted completely on its head, which was sort of our goal with this film.
And I would say, as a horror fan, I've kind of, I've been watching horror since I was 3.
Oh my!
So I know the kind of horror that I'd like to see as a horror fan. So I'm hoping that that's what we've given everybody. A real horror fan, actual horror. Because they come along every now and then, and you get really excited, and then it's nothing against the Cabin in the Woods movies or anything like that. And I don't mean that specific movie is incredible, but 5 kids out to a cabin because you only have a couple $100 to make a movie.
Sure.
But we've seen those. So this one, I really hope that this is something that people haven't seen before, and that's something we got excited about.
Keith, walk us through the process of writing the script.
Sure. So this one kind of came about. Justin and I have been making movies for a long time now, and obviously this is more of our first love and where we wanted to take our career. So we ended up with a pitch meeting, and the pitch meeting went pretty well, except that the kind of horror movie that they were looking for, we just didn't have in our slate. And so Justin and I were kind of we do this a lot. We throw ideas back and forth on the drive home. And we just kind of came up with this idea for, this reverse exorcism. At the beginning, it was a very different movie. The couple were younger. And then, so right away, you've seen the movie, yes, Michael?
I have.
Okay. So, spoiler for anyone who hasn't. So I think, is that the idea here? We're hoping to give spoiler free, or are we?
Spoiler free is advisable, I would say.
Okay. All right. So there's the opening scene to the movie. I think is what I pitched to Justin in the car on the way home, and he was like, "Yes." He's like, "That's it. Let's talk about this." And so then a lot of times when I write movies, you have to kind of work through them. But when I know I really want to make the movie is when I see the whole movie start to finish. I know where I want to take it. So I think I went home. I'm not sure Justin can help me with the date, but I know I wrote this one fairly quickly, at least the first draft. I think I had it back to Justin, within a couple weeks. And so it was pretty easy. The other nice thing for anyone who hasn't seen the movie, we actually filmed it inside my own house. So it was pretty easy to write to. I knew all the locations. That was a big bonus. The downside, of course, is that we still have remnants of blood that we just can't seem to get off the wall.
Of course.
But that's okay. And then it was afterwards, and then Justin and I go back and forth. He gives his ideas. We talk about those. I go do rewrites. I think at that point was when he'd seen Sheila McCarthy in a really cool, smaller movie. Justin, sorry, what was the title of that one?
It's called Cardinals,
Cardinals. And so he just sent me a couple clips, and I was like, yeah. And then, I think it was Justin who said, like, what if they were older? Like, what if we had this older couple? And I was like, yeah. And it was funny because at first I wrote the movie, trying to say this spoiler free, from our victim's perspective. And then as I got further in, I realized it was much better as the grandparents' story. So we just I shied away from her story a little bit and made it more about their story. And then once Justin had said we should, approach Sheila for this, then I pictured Sheila for the role. And then I'd always wanted to, write something for Julian Richings because Justin and I were both such huge fans. And we thought this would just be perfect if we could get them. And then we just got insanely lucky that they were both really into the movie. So it was just that. It was really not a very hard movie to write, if I'm being honest. The scares are scares. Again, that I'd wanted to see, in horror movies for a long time. There were a lot of things, the ghosts that I'd based the scares on are sort of like, I found it really interesting that things that people have affected in nightmares. So I tried to tap into that. You'll see, once you see the movie, you can understand sort of where it came from. So I wanted to play on the phobia of nightmares and what the dreams mean and things like that when I incorporated those into the ghosts. Boy, it's hard when you do spoiler free.
You did it.
But
You
yeah,
did great.
so here we go. And then the movie takes place, so I don't know what to say without giving away too much.
I think that was a good tiptoe. I liked it.
Perfect.
Justin, who was the MVP of the crew?
MVP of the crew. That's
Yes.
a great question.
One.
I think
you.
I may have to hand that to Sheila McCarthy, actually.
Okay.
She came on after, as Keith said, wrote the script pretty quickly. I saw her in this film Cardinals, and I just thought she would be a perfect Audrey. So we reached out to her. She read the script. She liked it right away, and I said, "Look, we don't have a lot of money. This is going to be a very low budget film." And she said, "You know what? I do bigger projects, so I can afford to do stuff like this." And it really connected with her, which we were so lucky. And then from there, we sort of, as we're shopping around trying to get it made, like, oh, we don't have papers or anything, but Sheila McCarthy is interested. And sure enough, that got the ball rolling. I think without her, we wouldn't have gotten the rest of the cast. And then she even offered up and introduced me to her brother, John McCarthy, who is an incredible composer. And he came on and did the score for our film as well. So really, things all started coming together once Sheila signed up and said she'd help us out.
What are both of your thoughts and beliefs regarding occult magic?
I can go first here. It's
Sure.
I'm a firm believer in believe whatever helps you through your life. I don't have any religious beliefs myself, but I find religion extremely fascinating. I know a lot about religion, but I subscribe to none of it. So I think in this movie, it really is just about people's desperation, trying to find anything that will give them an answer, right? Which, in my opinion, I think is what a lot of religion seems to be based on. We need that hope. We need that glimmer of, of better. Yeah. And so I think in this movie, that's really what I tried to tap into. And I know Justin was very big on that too, was just trying to find a couple that had turned to everywhere they could. And this just happened to be an answer. So I don't know, Justin, what about yourself?
Yeah, I hope there's not a lot of literal truth to occult magic specifically, because we might be in a lot of trouble if there is. We may have said the wrong things a few times.
Sure.
But the idea behind this is that, what they're tapping into, it's not one religion. It's not, this book got it right, and these are the ghosts or the demons or the bad guys or whatever that you are summoning. It's sort of a culmination of everything from Greek and Roman mythology to Christianity to anything you could think of. Anytime anyone has described darkness in the world, maybe it's attributed to one of these, and they don't go by a human name. They just exist, and no one's ever gotten it quite right. But if you push and pull the right levers and buttons, then you're going to stumble on something a little bit dangerous.
So essentially the same as the scene in the Goonies with the piano. I think that's
it's exactly like the scene in the Goonies. Yeah.
All right, Keith, what were some integral horror movie influences for this script?
Oh boy, that's a tough one. Obviously, things. Yeah, definitely The Exorcist. That was, funny enough, when I was 3, Carrie was the first one I ever saw.
Oh my God.
And my dad was scared to show me The Exorcist because it was on TV. And I don't know if anybody is, I don't know where everybody's listening, but we used to have this, late night movies on one of the channels, and my dad was watching The Exorcist, and I remember watching it, and I was too young. I didn't get it. But obviously, some of the scenes stick with you. So that movie, again, then I watched it. I was like, I remember being really, doing that little kid thing where I'm like, this isn't scary. I'm not scared of this. You don't know me. And then I watched it again when I was about 8, and I was terrified and had nightmares for months. So definitely The Exorcist. More recent ones, movies like Hereditary. We took a lot, we looked at that one a lot. What else? I'm trying to think. there's just so many great. The Omen actually was a big one for me.
Oh, great one.
I love that movie when I was a kid. And so, yeah, we watched that one again. I think we looked at Rosemary's Baby as well.
Ooh.
Yeah, just a lot of anything dark. I think Justin and I both kind of lean toward, well, I shouldn't speak for Justin, but I know I like to lean into the sort of 70s kind of storytelling and character based. I think I really, my goal with the writing was to try and make a movie that if you took away the horror, is there still a movie? You know, if even if it's not scary, is there a solid movie here? So I think that's when I lean toward movies like The Omen or even The Exorcist, right? Just people falling apart. If you take away the horror, it's still a pretty solid movie. So yeah, that was myself.
All right. Well, those are all. Hopefully, if listeners haven't seen those movies, they make sure after they listen to this interview, they watch all of them because those are great movies.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Justin, I was wondering, how did you prep your actors?
Well, we prepped them as much as we could given our limited time and budget. So we got together for, I guess when we finally got Sheila and Julian on board, we went out for a nice dinner, and talked about the characters and talked about the film. And, they had some thoughts and great input that we took with us onto set. And we just had sort of a general conversation, I guess, about the tone of this movie and the tone of each character. And then I think a couple days before we rolled cameras, we got together for a table read with Sheila and Julian, as well as Constantina, who plays Becker, and Josh Crudis, who was our Ian. So we did a table read all together, and sort of. This is outside of, I guess, I did have like a phone call with each one of them prior when we were first casting them, but this is really where we all, stuck it all together, and everyone learned who they were going to be portraying.
Did making this movie ever disturb you?
I don't think so. It's, we there may have been brief moments. There is a ghost who we actually filmed in my bedroom, so that was a little uncomfortable going to sleep that night. But outside of that, no, I don't think so. When you're on set and the you need to get the scary scene, and we call in Carly, our incredible practical effects artist, comes in and like, we need more blood, Carly. She's coming in. She's got chunks of things, and she's like, the chunks are getting sticky. I don't know what to do. So everyone's just having a laugh the whole time, and then hopefully it turns out really scary when you point the camera in the right direction. So no, I don't think I was overly disturbed, but we sure had a lot of fun. Good.
All right. What is the key lesson that both of you learned from making this project?
I think for me it would be if you put together the right team between a cast and a crew, all the problems that come up will just sort of take care of themselves. And by that I mean, obviously there's going to be somebody taking care of it. So we had, from our production manager, line producer, to the art team, to the camera team, we face a lot of crazy things on this. We had one day we needed to have snow covering the driveway. And sure enough, it was melting all 3 days before that, and there was no snow. And then, the next day we're supposed to be doing some outside stuff, and we had a blizzard with about, 20 inches of snow that night. So there's, things kept getting thrown in our way, but if you get the right team and get people who are, truly passionate about the project, then all those troubles can be turned into favors for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, the only thing I would add to that would be, because Justin was absolutely right. It was such a mind-blowing experience to work with such incredible actors and people who have just know their job. So that was such a nice thing to be able to just trust that it was going to go well. But I would say the thing that taught me the most was the post. I come from post world in visual effects, but I didn't know much about doing sound. So I would say that it was crazy how much we were able to change and just dictate some of our pacing get our scares a little stronger. Steven at I'm sorry, I forget Steven's last name if you remember, Justin, but at it was Urban is where we did all of our post sound, and he was just absolutely incredible. He was so passionate about his job. And you know, I've always said, you know, learned that you tell the story 3 times. You know, the writer tells it the first time, the director tells it the second time, and the editor tells it the third. But I would definitely argue that the 4th is just as important, where the sound designs a movie again. The amount of changes that we made, you know, not to overall scenes, but just to how we play it and stretch out the tension, how we bring one scene transitioned into the next. Really just came down to having this incredible sound design. So I'm extremely grateful to Urban for doing such an incredible job on it with us.
Yeah, it does have an incredible sound design now that I think about it. But it's great that it sort of was there subconsciously. I wasn't conscious of how strong it was, but now that you said it, you're absolutely right.
Well, funny enough, I mean, I guess that's the best compliment that you can get, right?
Yeah.
If the movie flows so well, like that's always the same thing whenever I read people, you know, again, just because I come from as an animator from visual effects, when people are like, oh, CG's terrible, I'm like, well, that's because you don't see it. You know, it's like it's invisible. Those mountains aren't there, and that, you know, so it's I think it goes a long way with sound as well, where Steven did just such and everybody at Urban did such an incredible job. That you really don't want it to stand out outside of what they meant it to stand out to, you know, if that makes any sense. I was trying to be poetic and I failed miserably. But yeah, so it's I wouldn't be able to say enough nice things.
Beautiful. Justin and Keith, thanks for your time. Any final thoughts before I let you go?
Oh, just thanks for having us, and I hope everyone listening has a chance to check out the movie. If you're in Canada, we're premiering at Fantasia on September 1st, Fantasia Film Festival, and then in the U.S., we will be having a premiere. I believe it's going to be a virtual festival, but we have not been given the green light to talk about which one it is yet. So it's coming, but I think trailers should be dropping within the next couple days as well.
Oh, cool. Okay, well, we'll stay plugged in for that. Thanks so much, guys.
Hey, no problem. Thank you.